Hello, my name is Gina Lodge. I'm the CEO of the Academy of Executive Coaching. I'd like to introduce you to Mark Powell, who's the head of AoEC in Singapore and is leading the introduction of the AoEC programs in the Asia Pacific region. Mark is a veteran of coaching and also leading the faculty team of the AoEC in the region. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Gina, for that introduction. We wanted to talk a little bit about why we're bringing coach training into Asia and what AoEC itself has to offer in particular, and what makes AoEC stand out as a coach training organisation. And we'll also talk about, if you undertake the training with AoEC, how will that affect your career, how will that affect you, and how will that affect your future? Well, the first thing is that the number of coaches in Asia is relatively small. Coaching's been alive in Asia for 20 years. However, there's still relatively low numbers of coaches in Asia compared to other parts of the world. There was a recent ICF global survey, and it revealed that there's just over 8,000 coaches in Asia, both internal and external, compared to Europe, which has over 23,000. Now, if you think about that in relationship to population, Asia has 60% of the world's population, Europe's got 10% of the world's population, and yet there are such a smaller number of coaches in Asia. So there's a sense that we have at AoEC that there's still a huge opportunity for growing the coach population in Asia. Businesses are maturing. Asia's certainly become very prominent in terms of global headquarters for international organizations. And as that continues to grow, and as the region continues to grow in terms of its proportion of GDP of the world's GDP total, coaching will also grow. So there's a big upside for coaching in Asia, and we believe that that will continue to grow for the next decade. What's interesting is that external coaches like myself and like many people operating have an even lower number by global standards. So in Asia, there's about 4,500 external coaches compared to Western Europe with 20,500. So very undersupplied in a sense vis-a-vis the number of coaches in Europe. So we think there's a huge growth opportunity. One of the other things we believe is that internal coaching is becoming increasingly important. Now, in Asia, internal coaching seems more popular. So there's there's close to 3,500 internal coaches in Asia compared to Europe with under 3,000. So there's actually more internal coaches in Asia than there are in Europe. Internal coaching is where you've got a line manager or a leader who's undertaken some coach training and is either in a part-time or quasi-coaching role, along with their HR role or along with their leadership role. So where does that place AoEC? Well, first of all, we're a global organisation. We're in 14 locations across the globe. We've trained over 13,000 coaches. So if you think about that, that's about 1.5 times the number of existing coaches in Asia already have been trained by the AoEC. It's a high quality, globally benchmarked program that we run. And because it's global, you've got that international perspective that's being brought from all the best practice, the training that's been done in other parts of the world over the last 20 years, and bringing that into Asia so that we know we've got a very high quality program. Internal coaching is very important to AoEC, and we believe that we've got an edge in terms of understanding the internal coaching market. AoEC's got its own dedicated consulting business. Part of the important part of the role of that consulting business is to talk to the big corporates and try and understand what their needs are in terms of supplying all sorts of things, coaching inside an organization. So part of that is training internal coaches, but part of it's also understanding from a corporate perspective how they're growing their internal coaching capability and what other requirements are needed. So AoEC is ideally placed to be able to lead the growth of internal coaching in Asia and train those coaches. The other thing that's quite special and unique to the AoEC is that we've got this global presence, global standard, but we've got local sensitivity. So the faculty that delivers the program are locals, or they're expats like me that have spent a large number of years in Asia. I've lived in Asia for 20 years. And this local sensitivity is very important because culture is different, and the way coaching shows up in different parts of the world will vary a little on the basis that it needs to match the cultural sensitivities. So we think AoEC is ideally placed to make a contribution to coach training in Asia. The faculty that will be training you if you decide to come on one of our programs is, with the exception of myself, a little bit younger. We also make sure we've got a good mix of genders because we know that's important in Asia. Females make up about 60% of the coaches in Asia, and our faculty will reflect that. I wanted to talk a little bit now about the specific AoEC program and what you'll get if you undertake that program. Then I'll go on to talk more generally about what are the benefits of being qualified as a coach. But just talking about the AoEC program itself, we've talked about it being global and yet local. It is a program that is endorsed by all of the 3 leading international coach accreditation bodies. So the ICF is well known, run out of America. The EMCC is another accrediting body in Europe, and we've also got the Association of Coaching, which is an accredited body that's increasingly becoming global, run out of the UK. So the AoEC program is endorsed by all 3. And this is, we believe, is important because it gives people an option. It means that you're not limited to one accreditation body. And that's important because there are starting to become differences in these different accreditation bodies, and people have their own preferences. Another difference about the specific AoEC program is the breadth of the toolkit you get as a coach. So a lot of coach training programs, and I've done multiple training programs with multiple providers, and often coach training programs have a very specific philosophy and a very specific model that they want to teach you. And there's some merit in that, of course, so don't dismiss that. But the AoEC is quite unique in that we teach a wide variety of tools and models and philosophies so that you get a sense of what may suit you in terms of your own style and your own strengths. And that breadth of toolkit, we believe, is a really important distinguishing factor for AoEC. Connected to that is the personal growth that you get on an AoEC program. We have this explicit requirement that as you train as a coach with us, you have to figure out what's your own coaching philosophy. And we know that's important because there are increasingly large numbers of coaches, and niching yourself becomes important, and knowing who you are and what unique advantage you bring as a coach is important. So there's this internal inquiry we encourage to think about who you are, what your strengths are, how you show up, and what's your coaching philosophy and how that's going to make a difference. And that really does accelerate personal growth for people that come on our programs. Another distinguishing factor is the high quality international alumni. So we've got this rich alumni. I talked about over 13,000 coaches have been trained across 14 different countries and 4 continents. So that's a large numbers of high quality coaches that if you train with us, you can tap into. And we make a special effort of keeping in contact with our alumni, and both in terms of getting their feedback about how they're going in the corporate space and learning from them, but also inviting them into specialized programs that continue to deepen their expertise as a coach. I'd like just to say a little bit about if you undertake a coach qualification with us, how that will make a difference to you, your career and your future. Because ultimately, that's why people would undertake some coach training. I recently wrote a blog about this, and you can find that on the AoEC Singapore website if you would like to explore more, because I don't have time to go into all of that. But I would say there's a number of advantages of qualifying as a coach. If you're an existing leader or even a high potential leader, doing some coach training and indeed getting coach qualifications will deepen your leadership expertise, and that will give you an edge in terms of, you know, the ultimate competitive space as you want to take your aspirations higher and higher. So there's a real gain in undertaking coach training for existing leaders. A lot of the coaching skills and competencies are also important leadership capabilities, and increasingly these align as leadership styles shift. So as coaches, for instance, we learn how to develop a visionary narrative. That's important as a leader. We learn how to prioritize and how to help our clients prioritize and focus on what really matters. That's important as a leader. We learn to deeply listen. You can't coach well unless you learn deep listening skills, and that helps to build trust. That's now really important to leaders. We learn to take a solution-focused approach to issues. So rather than dwelling on problems all the time, we're looking at creating possibility. We're looking at solutions that will take things forward from where they are today. That's an important quality of a leader. We learn this skill or the art of reflection, and reflection is such a critical process to connect action to learning. And that's an important art of a leader, an increasingly important art of a leader, because business is getting busier and busier and more complex, and you can't learn without reflection. As coaches, we learn this healthy balance of support and challenge. Everyone needs both, and we need both when we turn coaching back in on ourselves. That's an important quality of a leader. So if you're a leader and you're thinking, would coaching help me? Absolutely, absolutely. One of the other things about coaching is that it really does deepen our sense of self-awareness. We spend a lot of time getting to know ourselves, which is critical, because we need to understand ourselves before we can understand others. We also need to understand ourselves because we need to be able to model behavior to people that we're working with, to the coachees and clients we're working with. So deep levels of self-awareness are important. And as you become more aware of yourself, you take yourself a little bit more lightly. You're less likely to, you see the pros and the cons, you see the strengths and the limitations, which everyone's got. And there's less defending your ego and less defending of your turf. And these are important skills of a leader, particularly now that the world's getting more and more complex. And coaching is inherently about about continuing to the growth of learning. There's this concept called the growth mindset. So as coaches, we're on this never-ending path of inquiry, reflection, learning, inquiry, reflection, learning. And this growth mindset helps us to build resilience and agility, which are important qualities. So even if you're not a coach, even if you're not a practicing coach and you're an aspiring leader, an existing leader, a senior HR person, coaching's got a lot to offer. But you might also undertake you might be in a corporate role now and you might be thinking, what next? Yeah, you might either be thinking that in mid-career or towards the end of the career. So coaching qualifications, of course, give you a perfect what's next, because coaching's a career you can undertake successfully post-corporate life as a full-time coach like I am and like many people are, or you can do your coaching qualifications, and coaching can be part of a portfolio career. So I've got many friends, allies, colleagues who have multiple ways of generating income and satisfaction in post-corporate careers. And part of that is being a coach. Other parts, maybe they're on boards, or they're a consultant, a strategy consultant or a process consultant. And they might be doing some university lecturing in a subject matter of expertise, but coaching forms part of that portfolio. So if you're thinking about post-corporate career, there's a great opportunity if you undertake coach training, regardless of whether you use it as a full-time career or you use it as part of a portfolio career. You might be an existing consultant already. You might be a management consultant, a process consultant, a digital transformation consultant. In all aspects of consulting, coaching can enhance the offering you have to your clients. Coaching skills will bring a lot to your consulting practice. It gives you an extra bow, and you can learn these coaching skills, and they can complement the existing consulting skills, and there's so much more value you can bring to your client base. So if you're a consultant, it's worth considering coaching as a qualification. The final thing I would say about what advantage is there in getting qualified as a coach is the personal growth. And for me, this has been enormous. And I think it's true. I can't speak on behalf of every coach, but all the coaches I know, they talk about the rich personal lives and the rich growth they've got themselves from starting coach training and getting caught in that process of continually learning about themselves and about other people. So this personal growth, I think, is highlighted by a core question that we like to ask as coaches of our clients and of ourselves. Are we the best possible versions of ourselves? And that's a question that I think every day is such an internal motivating question for all of us to contemplate. How can I bring a rich life alive today? And how can I be the best possible version of myself today? And as coaches, we continually reflect on that, and that, whilst it sets a high benchmark, it also gives us such satisfaction, and we continue to learn about ourselves and about the people we coach. And as I mentioned before, we get these wonderful opportunities to get deep with people and to understand the human psyche, and also to understand ourselves and what makes us tick. So I think there's a huge amount of advantages in being qualified as a coach, regardless of whether you're an existing internal leader, an aspiring internal coach, retiring corporate, someone who's thinking about a portfolio career, or even if it's just for your own personal growth.